Hi, Grandma here, and I'm reading chapter 10 out of The Door in the Wall. For a little bit of a review, Robin has gone to get John in the Wind and to help them with the castle and the people in the castle who are under siege. John in the Wind has gone to Sir Hugh, who is the cousin who will be coming to help with the Welsh problem. And that was while Robin was taking a nap because he'd been up all night escaping the castle and the Welsh. Now they have gone back to the village that is near the castle, and they have gone to the shoemaker's house. The shoemaker has helped them come inside the village wall, and that's where we left off. They did not linger in the house, but with a few words to the shoemaker left by way of the garden. There was a door in the wall leading into the graveyard of the church, where John and Robin slipped quietly from one great tombstone to another. They entered the church by the sanctuary door, startling the sacristan, who slept and ate in a small room off the entrance porch. Now, I don't know exactly what a sacristan is, but he is somebody who works at the church. "Who art thou?" he called, hearing the creak of the door. "Art friend or foe?" "Hist," warned John, stepping quietly toward the light of the lantern held by the sacristan. "We are friends. I am John Go-in-the-Wind, minstrel. This lad is young Master Robin, friend and ward of Sir Peter. He hath this day saved us all." The sacristan held the lantern up where he could see John's face. "Oh, now I mind thee," he said, nodding his head. "I knew thy father." John told the sacristan how Robin had come to warn him and to get help, and described the plan he had made with Sir Hugh to sound the bells, giving the signal for an attack. "Come with me, then," said the sacristan, leading the way. They went down the long, dark aisle of the church to the door of the tower. "Give me thy crutches, young master," said John. "Canst thou climb the ladder, or wilt go pick-a-back? 'Tis a great height, but there are resting places." "I can do it," said Robin shortly. Had he not climbed the towers and turrets of the castle many times? They had just reached the belfry when it was time for curfew to ring. The bells began an ear-splitting clamor. "Down flat and cover thy ears, quick!" shouted John. They flattened themselves on the platform and endured the deafening sound. "We shall go to the top first," said John, "for it is yet too soon to give the signal, and from there we shall see somewhat." From the belfry to the top of the tower, it was another 30 feet of climbing. When they reached the top, Robin fell in a heap onto the platform with every bit of strength gone from his legs and arms. It slowly returned. In a little while he was able to rise and stand beside John, looking out over the town. "We agreed that I should wait an hour after the curfew, when the moon will be nearly overhead," said John. Now remember, they didn't have watches or clocks really, and they really depended upon the church to keep track of time and the bells of the church. That allows time for all companies to be in place, and with the sounding of the bell, to move in about the town and castle at once. "How can you tell when it has been an hour?" asked Robin. "Oh, by the feel of it," said John. "Besides, I shall play 'Love a Garland Is' and 'Lament of a Lass.' That will be half of the hour." He unslung the harp from Robin's back and began the music. Well, I never thought to use music like that to help gauge time. While they waited for the rest of the hour to pass, John pointed out the familiar turrets of the castle, the north tower where they had stood that day, and the tower of the keep, where the household waited for deliverance. He strummed on the harp between times. They tried to see into the hills about the town, but saw only the quiet countryside bathed in moonlight. In the town, supper fires sent out blue smoke, and here and there was the red glare of torchlight and campfire. Glints of moonlight on helmet and shield shone from the walls, where sentries walked, but very little sound could be heard at that height. The hour was up. "Now," said John, "it is time for the alarm. Stay thou here, and I shall return. Cover thy ears well, but watch to see what happens." He was gone through the hatch into the darkness below. Robin waited, his skin prickling with excitement. Would the signal be at the right time? Would the arrows find their mark and lift the siege? Bong! 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 The great bell rang, sending waves of sound that went out over the hills and came echoing back into the stone of the bell tower, which trembled with the vibration. At first, Robin could see nothing different from what he had seen before. Then, it was as if part of the landscape itself moved off there toward the south, just below the edge of town. Gathering from the slopes were tiny moving figures, now in the open, now lost in the shadow. Robin searched for another sign, this time in the direction of Latham Bridge. The sign was there where he could see more clearly. John came up breathing hard. "What's to be seen?" he asked. "Are they moving? Hast seen any arrows fly by?" He looked at Latham Bridge. Then it came. A hail of arrows that were like dark rain sped from oncoming yeomen, dropping the sentries on the bridge and picking off men of the guard manning the wall of the town. From where they stood, Robin could see it all as plainly as if it had been a toy village in a toy landscape, and the soldiers were toy soldiers. He saw pikemen strike down sentries of the enemy at the town gate and take prisoner the Welsh guards. He saw the company of Sir Hugh's men enter and take the town. It had been a complete surprise. When John Go-in-the-Wind saw what was happening and realized that the plan had been successful, he tossed his hat in the air and clasped Robin in his arms. "We've won!" he shouted. "The Welsh are routed. Lindsay is saved once more." Then, setting Robin on his feet again, he said, "Stay thou here and watch how the Welsh are marched out of town while I go below. Thou'lt hear such a peal of bells as shall nigh wake the dead lying below." Down he went again through the hatch to the belfry. With the pealing of the bells, flares went up from the castle and town. Windows and doors opened. The peal of bells stopped. John came back, and together they watched the lifting of the siege. They could see people running about through the streets, embracing one another, tossing caps and hats in the air, and in other ways showing their joy at being free of the Welsh invaders. In a short while, they saw the enemy marched out of town. Tears streamed down Robin's cheeks. "I must not cry," he thought, wiping them away, "not even for joy." "Now," said John, lifting Robin aloft, "thou'lt be carried on my shoulder, so far thou art the hero of this victory." And together they went down the long stretches of ladder and stair to the ground. "Make haste," said Robin. "Let us go to the keep at once, so Sir Peter and Lady Constance shall know that I am safe and well. Brother Luke will be sure of it, for his prayers have followed me this day. That I know." All the way through town square, John made the way with Robin on his shoulder, high above the villagers dancing at the dawn of returning day. And here's a picture of them. They were greeted with cheers at the castle gate and followed across the courtyard to the inner gate and to the keep by the cheering crowd. Allen at gate saw them from the gatehouse. The drawbridge was lowered and the portcullis raised, and just inside the whole company of the household stood to receive them. Sir Peter was in the center with his sons and 2 pages. Near him was Lady Constance with her women and little Allison. Doth the hound whimpered softly beside Brother Luke. Sir Peter held out his arms and helped Robin to the ground. placing the crutches to support him. Then placing his hand upon Robin's head, he spoke solemnly. Now before God and company, he said, I do hail thee conqueror and true son of thy noble father. Lady Constance embraced Robin, and the women made much of him. Doth was too well bred a dog to push himself forward, but his eager prancing and wriggling finally brought him to Robin's side, where he thrust his long cold nose into Robin's hands. John Go-in-the-Wind was called forward. He was given a holding of land for his own and a portion of sheep. With it went certain rights for hunting and fishing to be his and his heirs forever. Brother Luke gave Robin his blessing and went with him to the chamber. It seems long since I left here, said Robin, looking around as if he expected things to be changed. But there was the cross over his bed, and there on the workbench the little harp, just as he'd left it, waiting for the strings to be fastened for the keys. Much hath happened this day, said Brother Luke. I should like to hear how thy journey went. By thy look thou hadst fared well, except for needing a good wash and sleep. Off with thy borrowed clothes, and once more I shall care for thee. Sleep overtook Robin even before Brother Luke had finished. The days grew short and very cold. Everyone went about with a red nose and a cloud of frozen breath. Robin was glad of the woolen gloves made for him by Lady Constance. They were snug and warm and decorated with needlework on the back. The river ran more slowly now, and the ice began to form along the edges. Robin stopped swimming and took his exercise in other ways. He spent a great deal of time with Adam Boyer shooting at a mark, and was already at work again in the carpentry shop, making a viol such as Piers Nightingale used. The harp was finished. Robin had learned how to tune it by tightening the strings and could play it a little. Brother Luke was teaching him to sing a carol because it was near the feast of Christmas. There would be singing and caroling in the hall, and Robin remembered his father's letter and hoped that Christmas would bring his father and mother to the castle. We're going to stop there for now, and then we will have one more reading to finish off the book. Bye-bye.